Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running national syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. How you doing? Sorry about that. There was a mute switch there, but we got that all covered. Everyone, how you doing? Welcome onto the program. Hope you're ready for computer and technology news. We have the entire show lined up with everything from self-driving cars to AMD warnings about the new Windows 11 system, and of course, you have that and more, along with the recent security breaches that happened there. So, everyone, sit back, relax as we do computer and technology news. But before we do, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, anything you need to know, show notes, podcast directory, reviews, articles. Hey, check it out. We put a new face on it. It's pretty easy thanks to WordPress. And yeah, hey, check it out, computeramerica.com. Follow us on social media, give us a like, give us a review. That would help us out a lot. And hey, everyone, it's looking forward to it. So, everyone, why don't you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and let's get started with computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Okay, so I think that for our first segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about... Okay, we're going to talk about Twitch. And, obviously Computer America, twitch.tv/Computer America, we use the service. Well, they had a pretty big data breach, and you can check that out here. And they said that, Twitch and their security problems have been, kind of known for quite a while now. But check this one out. This happened earlier today. A massive security breach at Twitch has exposed a wealth of information pertaining to the website's source code, unreleased projects, and even how much the top streamers make. Yeah, and that's, there was, of course, a lot of personal information, payouts, and things like that, how much money the service is paying to its top streamers. But also, this was almost everything that Twitch was. If you wanted to recreate the service that is known as Twitch completely, then hey, the source code was completely leaked. Unrevealed projects, and I think one of them was even supposed to be like a virtual reality hangout room with Twitch emotes and things like that. That was leaked. There, a lot of information, and it's really surprising that so much got out so fast. But Check this one out. As data analysts and journalists work to decipher what exactly is contained in the hundreds of gigabytes of information, others are still wondering how this happened. Such a breach seems increasingly likely to some. The Verge has spoken to multiple sources who claim that during their time at Twitch, the company valued speed and profit over the safety of its users and security of data. Honestly, that seems like most tech companies. Security is an afterthought. That's something that you do. Maybe you rely on a small dedicated team to work on security, but that is not at the forefront. Obviously, getting the job done trumps any kind of security, and that will be true for a lot of companies, not just Twitch. But for the amount of growth that it has seen, it makes all the more sense. So they said that this data breach, which Twitch blames on an error in a server configuration, that more and more seems like the primary reason why a lot of these things happen is a misconfigured server that somewhere doesn't have a password, wasn't password protected, or has a weak password, and just everything's left out in the open. More and more, that seems to be a very popular avenue for data breaches. But still, they said that in the latest in a series of security and moderation problems that have plagued Amazon-owned streaming platform, in August, hate raids in which marginalized streamers were subjected to uncontrollable number of bots spamming hate speech erupted across Twitch. And yes, bot spamming was a rather big problem. I think they've really done a pretty good job of banning a lot of the bots, but it was definitely a problem. Now, streamers banded together to create the hashtag #TwitchDoBetter hashtag and organized a walkout on September 1st to bring attention to the problem and spur Twitch to deploy safety measures and stem the hate tide. In response, Twitch acknowledged streamers' complaints, urged patience, and promised it would do more to protect them in the future. And so there you go. And it's they say it's an ongoing dialogue, something that they are working on. Now, but the hate raids didn't suddenly disappear overnight. They said, according to a former Twitch employee, alarms were raised about the abusive raids long before this happened in April. So we're going to skip through a little bit just to get to what happened today, which is, again, this massive data breach. Now, they said that... let's see. So go on and so forth. Another source tells Verge, which this is more about the raids. So how about this? This article seems almost like a straight up copy and paste from a previous article. So we're going to just kind of end it there. I'm sure that let's see. One moment. And yes, this will do. So this happened about a day ago, and looking through some of the information has been really eye-opening. This is from the BBC, saying that more than 100 gigs of data was posted on Wednesday, as we mentioned. They mentioned that Fortnite streamer BBG Calc told BBC News that the earnings list got my figure 100% correct, which would make sense. The leak happened from Amazon's and Twitch's own servers, and some of the figures you're looking at, almost 9 million, 10 million in in the top end. Some of these channels were earning $10 million from Twitch alone, and that's not including sponsorships, that's not including sponsorships or anything else that these streamers do. So. It really shows how much these top streamers are making money. And they said that another streamer confirmed to the BBC that their earnings were accurate, while a third person closely linked to it said that they were about right. Those behind the leak also claimed to have source code for the video platform itself. There you go. They mentioned that Twitch famously fiercely guards operational details, such as how much streamers are paid, so this looks extremely embarrassing for the company. And this is all the more true for Twitch, because it's been kind of known in the Twitch space that you don't talk about your ad share revenue or your sub share revenue. You don't talk about how much money you make. You don't talk about how much how much money you earn from ads. Like, you're not allowed to talk about anything as it comes to your earnings on the platform. And if it happens to leak or you accidentally do it, if you're not big enough, then they'll just shut you down and they will not renew you and take away your source of income. It's very, very common for them to just completely shut down someone talking about revenue. So for them to have then leaked every single person's revenue is a pretty big deal. They mentioned that, and of course it comes at a time when the competitors such as YouTube Gaming are offering huge salaries to snap up gaming talent, so the fallout could be significant. Aside from salary details, the documents seem to contain the site's source code and even technical details for yet to be released products and platforms. And evidence is building that at least some of the data looks real. So, and they mentioned that, and if it is all confirmed, it could be the biggest leak that they've ever seen, an entire company's most valuable data cleaned out in one fell swoop, which is essentially what it is. It's all of their private financial data, all of the source code for all of their platform. This means a couple of things. Of course, anyone could go by, take the source code, edit it just a bit, take off the branding, and launch a competitor to Twitch. The other one, and probably more likely issue that we're going to see moving forward, is the fact that as a service, by having the source code, being able to scrutinize every little bit of it, this platform is going to be much more susceptible to hacks and to malicious actors trying to get in, steal things, and steal money, steal viewers, steal just anything of value from Twitch. So now they have to be very careful and suddenly do a complete security overhaul on the service itself. They mentioned that, but the list of payments apparently from Twitch itself is unlikely to include sponsorship deals and other off-platform activities or account for tax paid in income. They mentioned that if many, if not all, of these top streamers are effectively large-scale media operations with their own employees and business expenses, so the numbers do not represent take-home money for those, even if it is genuine. So obviously, if someone was making, let's say, $3 million, they're paying taxes on that, they're paying it out to people that are helping them do what it is that they do, and that doesn't mean they have $3 million in the bank. That just means that, on the record, Amazon and Twitch paid these people $3 million. Now, they mentioned that metadata being posted to internet forums appears to show folders of data named after software ideas, including core config packages, dev tools, infosec, or information security. The documents also allegedly contain source code for the website, as we mentioned. And in the earliest known online post linking to the data, the anonymous poster labeled the Twitch community a disgusting toxic cesspool and claimed that the leak was being posted to foster more disruption and competition in video streaming. In recent months, Twitch has been battling a number of issues on its platform, hate raids, as we have talked about from the other one. But this was a pretty big one. This was a lot of data leaked very suddenly from Twitch, and the fallout's going to be pretty big for a lot of users on there who count that as their full-time job. So that's the first one. I think for the second article, we're going to... How about a data leak? Yet again. This one, though, just a number of data points and, some behind-the-scenes coding from Twitch is one thing. What about 1.5 billion with a B Facebook users' personal data found for sale on a hacker forum? And if I am to guess, these are scraped from profiles, so not exactly hacking, but it's still very useful for people who have ill intention. So they mentioned that unrelated to other problems that Facebook has had, this particular batch of data was scraped from profiles, meaning it's publicly available knowledge. That doesn't stop it from, of course, being dangerous. Essentially, this is, let's say you have a LinkedIn account, because this happened to LinkedIn recently, and they got into a bit of a problem there. On your profile, you can say, show my first name, my last name, show my email address, and, maybe phone number for contacting, show where I graduated. You can show a certain amount of information to anyone who visits your Facebook or your LinkedIn page, whatever. And that's not that really big of a deal. I mean, the amount of people who are going, the amount of hackers that are going to go to a particular profile, write down your information, and then try to utilize that information is going to be pretty slim. Let's face it, you are one of 2 billion different users. Now, the bigger problem is when everyone has first name, last name, email address, maybe phone number listed on their account and maybe username, all of that compiled into a giant list. And then that is then kind of cross-referenced or compared to another list that check all of these profile names to past data leaks, data breaches, where they have had passwords leaked. If any of these 1.5 billion profile names match other profile names and other data leaks, check the password, and they will then try to use that password, that username in different services that you may have been using. And yeah, and of course, first name, last name, same thing. You can match first name, last name, match all these things at the same time, and suddenly you compile a giant list that just gets more and more effective the more data that you kind of bring into one place. So this is very, very useful to kind of fill in the gaps in existing data or to compare kind of, current and past data breaches. Now, the article mentions this one from Tech Republic, saying that reported by privacy researcher Privacy Affairs, the data found for sale doesn't indicate that the seller actually broke into the system. Privacy Affairs said that the data was allegedly obtained by scraping publicly available data shared by Facebook users. And they mentioned that the fact that the data stolen and for sale is publicly available shouldn't ease anyone's fears. That data can still be used to compromise user security. In particular, the stolen data contains names, email addresses, locations, gender, phone number, Facebook user ID information. Each bit of that data could clue the attacker into password challenge answers, allow them to intercept one-time login codes, phish, send scam texts, and more. Yeah, all those things, of course. It's also worth mentioning that even though it's all publicly available and, this wasn't kind of illegal, it really feels like Facebook should have some kind of system in place where, I don't know, if one person is pulling down 1.5 billion Facebook kind of requests, like this address is going to 1.5 billion Facebook profiles, maybe we should stop that person from doing that. I can't think of a good legitimate reason to, and I really feel like in terms of data traffic, that would really stand out, that one person, one location, or even just a few locations. I can't imagine that they'd be doing this on a lot of different VPNs or anything like that. But man, there had to be red flags and warnings going up over concerns of this. Now, they said that there has been some questions as to the legitimacy of both the seller and the data, with one prospective buyer saying they paid the user but never received any data. The seller denied the accusation, but as of October 6th, the post has been taken down, with a Facebook spokesperson saying that the company sent a takedown request. That'd be a good enough reason to take them down, is that Facebook said, hey, don't sell our data. That's our job. Privacy Affairs said that the data they examined from samples provided by the forum appears to be legitimate. The seller claims their group has been in operation for at least the past 4 years and served more than 18,000 clients in that time, i.e., they have sold people's data to 18,000 different criminal groups. Cross-checking the data against known Facebook leaks didn't bring up any matches, which they said could indicate that this is all new but legitimate data. The data exposed in the leak, if authentic, may constitute one of the biggest and most significant Facebook data dumps to date. There you go. And the article gets a bit into scraping, which is again just going to all these different profiles and just saying, give me the full name, email, phone number, location, gender, and more. It's not really that hard. And of course, they mentioned that every time someone enters one of those surveys or quizzes, they permit the creator of these games to view their personal Facebook information. Because scraping only requires data to be available, Facebook users should ensure that they set their profiles to public. it's also a good idea that they should never set their profile pages to public. And it's also a good idea to go through Facebook privacy checkup to make sure that everything is secure. And of course, never take Facebook quizzes or grant Facebook apps permission to use your personal information. This, back in the day, Farmville and things like that were a lot of fun, and I'm sure a lot of people did it. But by and large, don't really engage with those little quizzes or other things that request to pull your information from Facebook. It's a security nightmare. So 1.5 billion, that's a big number, and certainly something to take note of. Okay, so we have that one. I think our next one that we're going to talk about is AMD. And this is a pretty big story because, hey, let's face it, AMD has been on the up and up, or on the upswing, I should say. They have certainly been capitalizing on where Intel has been falling short in the past couple of years, and a lot of people have AMD processors. Well, if you have an AMD processor, and if you're running Windows 11, very, very recent, then hey, AMD Ryzen chips could have a 10 to 15% performance impact or downgrade. Check this one out. They said that the chip makers, if you're running Windows 11 on AMD Ryzen chip, brace yourself for a slight performance dip. AMD says it's uncovered a mysterious issue in its processors that can trigger reduced performance in certain applications, a direct quote from AMD. In Windows 11, which launched on Tuesday, the chipmaker support documents indicates that all AMD processors officially compatible with Windows 11 are affected. For consumers, these chips go back to 2018's Ryzen 2000 series. So there you go, about three, almost 4 years worth of chips. That's pretty big. One of the discovered problems can cause the L3 cache in AMD chips to potentially increase latency by 3 times. Slowing the L3 memory bank can thus drag down the access times for certain applications, saying that you can expect about a 3 to 5% performance decrease in affected applications, and then of course 10 to 15% outliers possible in games commonly used for esports. So you can think of I'm sure things like Call of Duty or League of Legends or insert other popular esport game here. The second issue deals with the chip's UEFI CPPC2 system, say that 3 times fast, which can communicate with the OS about which CPU cores are best capable of achieving a high boost speed for a given programming task. For some reason, here's the issue, they said that this control won't always preferentially schedule threads on a processor's fastest core. They said as a result, the problem can cause performance to slow, especially in single-threaded programs. Applications sensitive to performance of one or a few CPU threads may exhibit reduced performance. So it sounds like software, which is actually a really good thing. That means that whatever firmware is happening between Windows 11 and these AMD chips could potentially be patched. They could be updated and fixed, and everyone could get the speed that they were used to getting on Windows 10. A 10 to 15% is not that much, but when you consider that, hey, year over year, that is about the expected performance increase that we get from these chips. This is like getting downgraded, by 1 year's processor just for upgrading to Windows 11. The good news is it doesn't sound like there's any harm to the hardware. There's no reports of crashing or anything like that. Just in some applications, in particular, you can see anywhere from like a 3% decrease to a 15% decrease. I'm sure that the people who are very conscious and aware of their performances, then they may notice, and they're going to go out of the way to make sure that this doesn't happen, maybe even delay updating Windows to Windows 11. But there's the other side, which is, hey, by and large, a lot of you out there, a 3% decrease, you probably won't notice. A 15% decrease, Also, probably slim chance that you'll actually feel the impact. But if you do, I guess you can always revert back to Windows 11. But yeah, it sounds like they should have a fix in some time. So nothing too bad to worry about. Okay, so there's that one. Let's go ahead and talk about YouTube Rewind. 2018 was probably the most famous for this particular series, I guess, where YouTube tried to create these little videos that captured the year's, I guess, kind of trends, different creators, which videos went viral. They were snapshots into, it was kind of like this year on YouTube, what was popular from January to December. And of course, there was a lot of controversy on, whenever it happened. And of course, you have situations where YouTube just covered up stuff that they did not like. And 2018, of course, was a pretty popular one, but it looks like they're doing away with it altogether. They said that YouTube Rewind, the company's annual year-end roundup of trends, creators, memes, and the most popular videos on the site, has been canceled for good. There you go. Instead, YouTube will refocus our energies on celebrating you and the trends that you make with a different and updated kind of experience, though the company did not elaborate, so just back to the drawing board, I guess. YouTube will also be relying on creators on its platforms to fill the gap, with a spokesperson telling the Tube Filter that it'll continue to be inspiring to see the myriad of ways that the content creators produce, producers in the world and our YouTube creators encapsulate the end of the year in their video recaps. There you go. So essentially they're saying, hey, you guys do it. We never really did it too well, so you guys do it. They mentioned that the news of YouTube canceling Rewind permanently isn't a huge surprise. The company already took off 2020, citing the difficulties of the year, and that 2020 has been difficult and it doesn't feel right to carry on as if it were. Essentially, yeah, it was all disrupted thanks to COVID. And let's face it, the trends were probably very, very dominated with COVID. So, but Rewind was already struggling long before the pandemic. 2018's video was viciously panned by the YouTube community, and to this day, it remains the most disliked video ever posted to the platform. That's right. Normally YouTube encourages all kinds of engagement, even dislikes, kind of boost your video on the algorithm. But yeah, it's the most disliked video on the platform made by YouTube. That's a certain kind of honor. Creators argued that the company is shifting focus from the real community, including people like Logan Paul and PewDiePie, in favor of more advertiser-friendly choices. In 2019's video, attempted to skirt controversy entirely by shifting its format from the big-budget mashup of YouTubers from past years to a more ordinary list of clips and most watched creators and videos and trends. There you go. But whether well received or endlessly dunked on, Rewind videos have been a big part of YouTube culture for the past 10 years. That's right. The first one was back in 2010, but no more. It's going away. And honestly, after the past couple of years and how bad it's done, very, very obvious kind of why that happened. So. Okay, I think that's going to be it for that one. Pretty short update. I don't think a lot of people are really too concerned about that. But let's see, 1 second. Okay, and we're going to do this. Okay, our next story that we have is going to be. Probably this one. GM. Something that Tesla has been getting in a lot of trouble for lately is the fact that Tesla cars drive themselves sometimes, which you think, wow, that's great. It can't really go wrong. That can only be a good thing. Well, the issue comes in more to the fact that Tesla drives some of the times And when it does, sometimes it accidentally hits emergency vehicles, it ignores flashing lights, it kind of runs people over. And of course, there's this whole other issue of batteries exploding and the cars being impossible to put out by fire departments. But more to the self-driving fact, Tesla's been getting into a lot of hot water when it comes to their self-driving because it's not perfect. And while I think that humans are very, very awful at driving, like honestly, next time you drive, look at what everyone's doing. They are doing anything but focusing. Humans are awful at driving, but hey, we can look at Tesla and say, your computer is bad at driving as well. And, it's not a person. Therefore, it's a product, and therefore it can be scrutinized and, clamped down on without infringing its rights because, hey, it's just Tesla. My point is, self-driving cars have a long way to go, and they are being scrutinized incredibly hard. Well, GM decides we want in on that. That sounds like a lot of fun to be the subject of constant investigations and just general headache. Check this one out. This by Jonathan Gitlin over at Ars Technica, saying that GM and Ultra Cruise is what they're calling it. On Wednesday and Thursday, General Motors laid out its plans for the coming years to investors. The company wants a world with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. Boy, wouldn't we all? They said that, and that was by the CEO, Mary Barra, explaining that GM's investments in electric vehicles and autonomous driving technology has given it an early start. GM revealed that a new electric Silverado truck will be formally unveiled at CES in 2022, and a $30,000 Chevrolet electric crossover is also in development. Both of these models, as well as the electric Buick, GMC, Hummer EVs, and Cadillacs, will use GM's new family of Ultium batteries and Ultium drive motors, essentially going in heavy on the electric vehicle, which is all well and good. They mentioned that some or all of those vehicles will be equipped with Super Cruise hands-free driver assistance system, but the company soon plans to deploy an even more capable hands-free driver assistance system. Called Ultra Cruise, it will eventually allow for hands-free driving in 95% of all driving scenarios. That seems like a very big ask. It seems almost impossible, but I don't know. Okay, so unlike Super Cruise, which has tightly controlled operation design domain that allows it to operate only on geofence restricted access highways, Ultra Cruise will eventually work on every paved road in the US and Canada, according to the company. However, at first, the service will only be enabled on about 2 million miles of paved road. And they mentioned that, for context, Cruise will operate on about 200,000 miles of roads. So there you go. So Super Cruise. Ultra Cruise, Super Cruise. The Ultra Cruise, again, is kind of what they're going to release here soon. And then, yeah, Super Cruise is what they have now. Ultra Cruise will use a mix of cameras, radar, and LiDAR to create a 360-degree view of the world around the vehicle. The LiDAR sensors will be mounted behind the windshield to allow it to stay clean. The optical camera that enables lane keeping assistance on current cars is also found behind the windshield. LiDAR is expensive. I'm concerned at how they're going to be able to get this into vehicles for such a small cost. I know that the price of LiDAR has come down significantly, and that's certainly, I'm sure, at play here, but they are still very, very expensive. So I'm curious. They mentioned that we believe that the combination of different sensors or sensor fusion leads to the most robust hands-free driving experience. And GM says that Ultra Cruise will be able to handle navigation routes, including left and right turns. It will make automatic and on-demand lane changes and will react to and obey traffic signals and traffic signs. It will also be able to park itself in residential driveways. Ultra Cruise will debut in Cadillac 2023. I'm looking forward to it. Self-driving cars they are coming, and that's perfectly within the realm of possibility. 95% of all situations, though, that seems a little hard to believe. Highways, totally understand. City streets, maybe to a certain extent. Residential neighborhoods, less so with, so many things that could pop out onto the street. And then, of course, hazardous conditions, construction, so on and so forth. I mean, this seems to be really reaching. But if General Motors can do it, then, hey, maybe that will spur other companies to try to catch up to their level. Definitely hope that is true, because honestly, I think all of us are over driving. Driving can be fun at certain points, but when you have to do it every day for so long, and of course, you could be doing other things than driving. I'm sure a lot of people would rather be doing insert other things. So there you go. Okay, let's see. So we have that one. Let's see. So going on here, our next topic is Okay, I think that for our next topic, we're going to... Okay, Snapchat. Let's see how you do this. Snapchat is, it's supposed to be kind of transient. It's there and then it's gone. You take a picture, it goes away, and there's supposed to be no trace of it, and that has led to a completely different kind of culture on Snapchat. One where, they're just little snapshots into your life. It's very quick. It's you don't think about it. You take a picture, you send it, you forget about it, which is very different than a lot of other social media. That is, everything is forever archived and nothing is ever forgotten. And don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of stories about, Snapchat not doing exactly what it is that they are supposed to do, which is delete everything after the fact. But by and large, that is how people treat it. And that has led to a couple of things. That has led to a huge rise in sending inappropriate pictures that Snapchat is very well known for. And it's also being used, apparently, for, inappropriate pictures of drugs. Snapchat is taking steps to stop drug deals on its app. And like I said, due to the hands-off nature, the very non-permanent nature of this, it's going to be a tough challenge to decide who is a drug dealer and who's sending what photos, because they're not even supposed to be looking at the photos, let alone keeping backlogs of these photos. Now, the changes come amid a rise in overdose deaths attributed to drugs laced with fentanyl. They mentioned that Snapchat on Thursday said it is taking steps to stop illegal drug sales on its platform amid an increase in overdose deaths in the U.S. linked to drugs laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, and can be deadly even in small quantities, saying that we have heard devastating stories from families impacted by the crisis, and they were purchased from drug dealers on Snapchat, the company wrote, which is, already acknowledging that their platform is the platform that they got the drugs from. That is already more than I was expecting. So they mentioned that Snapchat said over the past year it's been investing in proactive detection in collaboration with law enforcement to hold drug dealers accountable for the harm that they cause our community. So Snapchat working closer with law enforcement. Good or bad, that's I guess you had to see that one coming. The company also launched a new Heads Up feature in Snapchat. Heads Up is an in-app educational portal that will distribute content from expert organizations when people search drug-related keywords in the app, aimed at educating people on mental health and coping mechanisms. The issue has been spotlighted on NBC News earlier this month, describing the death of teens and young adults who were suspected of buying fentanyl-laced drugs through Snapchat. So working closer with law enforcement and providing more information into these issues when people are searching for drug and other paraphernalia. Makes perfect sense, and yeah, it seems like that's the way that Facebook did the same thing when people were spreading misinformation, rumors, lies, fake news, all that kind of stuff. It seems like Facebook and Twitter as well was to kind of leave these things up, but then provide the alternate perspective or the factual information to these things. In this case, if you search for drugs, they're going to send you some information or try to direct you to information about why drugs are bad. How effective it will really be, that will be in the minds of the people who are actually searching this, if they actually follow the links, click through, read, and ingest. But I have a strong feeling that, kids will be kids, and they don't have the best decision-making capabilities, and they're probably well aware of the risk, and they would much rather just have the drug. But again, for Snapchat to stand up, take responsibility, and say, yeah, we noticed this happening is very impressive. So good to know. Good to know. Okay. Let's see. There's that one. How about... Okay. How about this one? Google's fourth podcasting service, which will obviously affect us because, hey, we're going to be on it. Google's fourth podcasting service will reportedly be YouTube Podcast. YouTube already covers TV, music, gaming, and YouTube TV, YouTube Movies, YouTube Music, YouTube Gaming, and now YouTube Podcast. They said that Bloomberg reports that YouTube is hiring an executive to oversee its podcasting experience, which currently does not really exist. YouTube is popular is a popular place for podcast hosting, but the site doesn't offer any podcast-specific features. There you go. YouTube is the most popular video site on Earth, and if you are a for-profit company obsessed with growth, it's actually a bit of a problem that everyone already uses YouTube. The endless quest for more revenue and more watch minutes has led YouTube to expand into areas other than the typical YouTube video. And of course, you have things like YouTube Red, YouTube Movies, YouTube Gaming, YouTube Shorts, which is a clone of TikTok, if you didn't know. YouTube TV, which is for cord cutters, but still has like a $45 price tag to it. It's pretty crazy. YouTube Music, which is, of course, an ad-supported or paid streaming music service like Spotify. YouTube Kids and YouTube Go for lower bandwidth versions for the developing world. YouTube has turned into Google's all-encompassing media brand, so adding podcast is not that big of a stretch. The story of YouTube Podcast sounds a lot like a pitch for YouTube Gaming. YouTube is already a popular place for this kind of content, so let's build a custom interface around it. So, what about what's been happening before? Because I know we've been on Google. They mentioned that YouTube Podcast will be Google's fourth podcasting app. First, there was Google Listen, a podcasting app powered by the Google Reader RSS service. Then there was Google Play Music Podcast inside of Google Music, and today there is Google Podcast, which is the one that we're on. So now we're gonna have to kind of switch that up here with YouTube Podcast. But YouTube already killed one podcasting product when Google Play Music was shut down in favor of YouTube Music. And of course, with that being said, Google's only currently functioning podcast product, which is Google Podcast, comes from the Google Search division. Being from the search division means that it doesn't have a solid home in the empire, and for a long time the service was only available as an embedded result in a Google search result page. There you go. YouTube seems like a much more obvious home for these kinds of things, and especially since people already go there for podcasts. They will likely fall back to its two of everything strategy for a while, but longer term, Google Podcasts will probably think about reserving a nice plot of land in the Google graveyard. Graveyard, by the way, is of course all of Google's old dead projects. And if you ever want to trip down memory lane, there are a lot of old podcasts. Or I'm sorry, not a lot of old podcasts, a lot of old Google services that are just unfortunately debunked. or I should say defunct. Okay, so there's that one. I think for story number 9, I think we're really rolling through these. Yeah, we definitely have time for this one, and it has to do with SMS, which you think is just kind of this ubiquitous, everyone has access to it, texting service. That's your traditional texting on your phone, and it looks like they were the victim of another hack. And honestly, I should have done this when I was doing kind of data breaches, but yeah, check this one out. Major SMS routing company says it was the victim of a 5-year hack. There you go. U.S. carriers were likely affected, but it's not clear how. This is by Jonathan Fingus over at Engadget. And yeah, a cornerstone of text messaging has been vulnerable for half a decade. Ars Technica reports that Cineverse, which routes billions of SMS chats for hundreds of carriers in the U.S. and abroad, has used an SEC filing to disclose a hack that lasted for 5 years. So what happened? The company discovered that in May 2021 that someone had unauthorized access to its operational and IT systems since May 2016. And during that time, it had several opportunities to access network database. The intruders compromised logins for Cineverse's electronic data transfer environment for about 235 different carriers. That's crazy. They said that. So they said that the routing firm wouldn't say if the attackers obtained message or otherwise violated user privacy. In a statement to Ars, Cineverse generally kept to what it revealed in the SEC filing. The company had said it hadn't found evidence of an intent to disrupt operations and that there was no attempt to monetize activity. So Engadget has asked T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon if the attackers could have compromised text passing through their network. Cineverse said it fixed the security flaw and notified all customers when legally required, but that no additional action was necessary at this stage. So it sounds like someone had access. They had accessed it several times, so it's not like they forgot a password and it was never used. It was used several times. What was actually revealed, though, everyone's being really hush-hush about it. So while the response suggests that the practical damage might be limited, there's still cause for concern. The attackers might have had access to a massive volume of sensitive messages while an important custodian was unaware. Think about that. I mean, think about, especially with more and more two-factor authentication is really ramping up. You get more and more, kind of things sent to your text message, authentication codes. If someone was able to intercept those, not disrupt them, but just intercept and keep the data, man, especially if you could target individuals within certain networks, that data could be very, very valuable. Imagine all the dealings that are being done by SMS every single day. Definitely cause for concern, but yeah, they're being very tight-lipped, and sounds like there's not really going to be much repercussion for Cineverse. Who knew? Okay, we have time for one, maybe two more articles here. How about... Okay, this one just a couple of hours ago, and honestly, I should probably just dedicate a segment every single day to NFTs. This one from Motherboard, which is great reporting, and this is by Edward Ongwezo, saying that 4 NFT projects took investors' money and disappeared in one day. There you go. The market for blockchain collectibles, or NFTs, is red hot. Predictably, the scammers have started moving in. And by the way, yeah, they've probably been there from the very beginning and probably driving a lot of the interest on this as well. And just days after the anonymous developer behind Evolved Apes, which is the one that we covered here on the show, vanished with $2.7 million, several more projects have shut down without warning and disappeared with the money. So this is a rug pull, as is known in the scammer world, and it's already common in the realm of cryptocurrencies. Now they are proliferating among NFT projects. I can imagine when it comes to cryptocurrencies, let's say Computer America creates the Computer America cryptocurrency. It's going to be great, the biggest thing we've ever seen, a new way that really transforms and revolutionizes the way that you spend, receive, or just do anything with money. Computer America and the Computer America cryptocurrency. And then I decide, you know what? Never mind, the whole thing's gone, and we just run away. So you invest all your money into this, you buy 1 million Computer America coins, and it's going to be great. But then, the whole thing just goes dark, and you are left with 1 million useless coins. And whatever, let's say, even if you bought in for $10, $100, $1,000, all that money would just be gone. So a rug pull. And then, of course, with NFTs, you have all these NFTs, you buy into them, expecting them to go up, just like pieces of art. You expect them to appreciate in value, and then turns out, no, they created random, useless, valueless NFTs that are now yours, but again, also useless. So they mentioned that typically a developer will launch a project along with big promises, only to disappear with the funds gained from people minting their JPEGs on the blockchain. On Wednesday, the NFT-focused Solana blockchain was hit with at least 4 rug pulls, some occurring on the same day of their launch or soon after, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency, which, again, with the more notable one being 2.7 million, 4 different ones. Don't get me wrong, people lost a lot of money, and that's not good. But man, it's at least it wasn't too much, I guess. That's something. Okay, so they mentioned that one project, Solana Towers, promised a grand metaverse vision of a bustling virtual condo that investors could buy rooms in via NFTs. The project's roadmap specified an initial NFT offering for early investors would take place October 5th. And with the NFTs conferring a space in the virtual building and ability to receive revenue from the building and from all subsequent buildings. There you go. The next step on the roadmap was Metaverse Investment in December, but the project never got that far. They launched on Tuesday, and on Wednesday it was gone, along with the website, the Twitter account, and the Discord, all of which, by the way, completely free to set up. It's crazy. People don't really do their due diligence. They just see, again, the promise of tons and tons of money for very, very little investment. And yeah, they're taken for. Based on the blockchain records for the wallet, they mentioned that about $282,000 was transferred on Tuesday, with more over the following days. So 300 grand. Right there. Other projects followed a similar trajectory. Interstellar Bots, another Solana-based NFT project, promised to run its first mint on Wednesday, with 5,000 tokens selling for 1 Sol, or the currency that they use with the Solana blockchain. Instead of being offered on a marketplace, it would be run through a website. Interstellar Bots didn't claim to offer much of anything beyond an interesting sci-fi background, saying that the year is 2134, after almost a century of a long and exhausting war caused by the collapse of the financial system and inevitable climate change. Humanity is now licking their wounds and trying to restore a peaceful society. But something or someone is looking at them very close. They are called Interstellar Bots, and they are coming from a really far and unknown galaxy. What do they want, and what's their purpose? There you go. That is the background. A nice little piece of fan fiction that is full of tropes. But the question of what they wanted was answered on Wednesday. The project deleted its Twitter account and claimed it was locking down its Discord to block scammers, fudders, and keep the Discord clean. And of course, yeah. According to screenshots shared on Twitter, one user looking at the project's code found that it was set to send 1 Sol from you to them, very little else going on, and noted that it could be a rug. That user identified a target wallet which contained about $48,000 on Wednesday, and which has spent the past day transferring the balance to other wallets. And yeah, money laundering in plain sight. Sure, you can see all the wallets, and again, it's just like seeing everyone's bank account. You can access anyone's bank account, but of course, creating a new bank account, completely free, very simple, very easy to do. And if you have it all going to one wallet, and then that one wallet sends it to 1,000 other wallets, and then those 1,000 send it to another 1,000, and then of course, some of them legitimate, some of them completely new wallets based for just this purpose of laundering the money, it gets very hard to track down all the money and see where it eventually ends up. So it is as good as gone, even though there is a direct trail to it. Now, they mentioned that Cheesy Dizzy is another Solana-based NFT project, and this will be the third of the 4 that that unfortunately went under. They say that Cheesy Dizzy and that pulled the rug out from investors on Wednesday. It featured drawings of mice with various outfits, items, and backgrounds, and launched its initial mint on September 17th with a starting price of 1 Sol per NFT. The projects had big plans, including being listed on a marketplace, and according to Discord screenshots shared on Twitter, starting on Wednesday, buying back all the NFTs under 1.5 Sol to keep the price floor high. That never happened. On Wednesday, the project's website, Twitter account, and Discord all went dark. According to the blockchain records, that wallet had about 421 Sol transferred out September 18th. There you go. So about $65,000. That is like the craziest one to me. If you ever wonder if someone is a scammer, when they say send us 1 Sol for an NFT and then we will at a later date buy back your coin, the money that you paid plus 50% more in a month. Yeah, that's very much a ripoff. Like they're not going to send you 1.5 Sol back. Like that's just the end of it. Technidroids, another Solana project that officially launched on Wednesday with 500 editions at the price of 1 Sol per NFT, deleted its Twitter account and Discord soon after its typo-ridden website although its typo-ridden website is still live. Like many NFT projects, it consisted of drawings of characters, in this case robots, by the way, it's actually still up. You can see it here if you're watching the video portion. So 500 Technidroids instead of Technidroids algorithmically living on the Solana. Each of them are randomly generated with more than 120 plus hand-drawn traits. And yeah, it looks pretty bad. It's almost like if someone just tried to copy Futurama. It didn't go too well. So anyways, they mentioned that like many NFT projects, it consisted of drawing characters. The project's roadmap promised that after minting an initial run, it would be listed on a marketplace and create NFT music, as well as Robotania, the planet where you'll have the possibility to use your Technidroids and play to earn. There you go. And right now it's unclear how much they made out with this one, but there you go. It is hard to imagine that there will be any stop to the rug pulling given the rise of popularity of not just cryptocurrency and crypto assets, but hyped up NFT offerings taking place outside of established marketplaces where, hey, being anonymous is just a feature of the system. They mentioned that, however, it's likely that the NFT space will see a push for more doxed teams, similar to DeFi space, where it became overrun by scams and anonymous developers. This kind of problem is inherent in the system, but not just Solana, but all cryptos can fall victim to bad actors. We could attempt to employ a more centralized approach with greater transparency, but that goes against the grain, something we have to live with. And yeah, again, this is the rule of law when it comes to cryptocurrencies and NFTs and things like that. It's decentralized. You just kind of have to go by reputation. You have to go by, kind of past history record. You have to, as best you can, judge these things for, kind of for what they are. And right now it seems like, well, a lot of them are just pure scams, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's see. As far as time goes, we have about a minute left. Music's going to start playing here in just a moment. So some of the stories that we did not get to include Facebook and their metaverse. I'm sure that we'll hear more about that in the near future. Facebook outages also hit AR and VR gadgets, making them temporarily half blind. There's also stories about NASA photos of Mars indicate zones that could host signs of past alien life. And then probably one of my favorite ones was Google blocked Russian government phishing emails targeting 14,000 users. So Russia doing Russian things. Everyone tune in tomorrow as we have the one, the only, Mr. Ralph Bond joining us. He has a ton of different stories. It's all going to be good. If you haven't tuned into a Ralph Bond episode before, we highly encourage you to do it this time because, hey, he's always a lot of fun. ComputerAmerica.com, everyone, if you want to find more, including the show notes, links to anything that we talk about here today, past shows, future shows, podcasts, and of course, articles and links to social media. Give us a like, give us a follow is the best way to follow along with what we do. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you here next time. Bye-bye.